All right, a new development in an upsetting story out of Michigan. What started as a simple traffic stop ended with a police officer fatally shooting a teenager 7 times. The policeman has not been charged, and the prosecutor said the shooting was justified. But now the family is suing the officer and the county for wrongful death. Here's Gene Casares with more.
Hey, driver's license, registration, proof of insurance, please. Pulled you over today because you flashed me. I didn't even have my brights on.
Yes, you did, sir.
Watch this police body camera video. 17-year-old Devin Guilford on his way to his girlfriend's house back in February. Sergeant Jonathan Frost pulling him over for flashing his high beams.
Driver's license, registration, proof of insurance, please. I did not have them on. Driver's license, registration, proof of insurance, please.
I don't even know you're an officer.
Sergeant Frost asked several times for Guilford's license. He refuses, questioning why he was stopped.
Am I being detained?
Yes, you are.
For what crime?
You flashed me with your high beams.
You had your brights on, sir.
Guilford begins recording their interaction on his cell phone.
You can get with the program and start to comply with this traffic stop, or you're going to be taken to jail.
The officer calls for backup as the situation escalates.
You do not have your driver's license on your person, correct?
Yes, I do.
Where is it?
You do not have to see it. I cannot see you had your brights on, sir. I'm not lying to you. I was just doing that to be polite. I don't want you to flash someone and have someone go off the road and crash. You know?
Do you realize that if you'd have complied with this traffic stop, it would have gone a whole different way for you?
The officer sees Guilford try to make a phone call and orders him out of the car.
Out of the car or you're going to get tased. Everything's being recorded, son. I got no problem with that. Get out of the car.
Yes.
Get down on the ground now. Down on the ground
Oh my
now.
God, stop yelling at me.
Down on the ground. Right here, facing me. Down on the ground now.
What do you mean?
Get on your belly right now.
This is what American...
Put your phone down and put your arms out to your side now.
Sergeant Frost kicks Guilford's cell phone away.
Are you all... I don't have a weapon. Hey!
Get your...
You can't do that!
Get your hands behind your back. You're under arrest.
Just about 90 seconds before backup arrives, Sergeant Frost tases Guilford, but he's too close for it to work properly. Roughly 14 seconds later, you hear gunshots. Sergeant Frost says Guilford attacked him, hitting him repeatedly with his fist. Take a look at this slow-mo, frame by frame. You can make the scuffle out just a little more clearly.
Central Point 372, I shot one. Priority backup. Starting EMS, I'm bleeding.
This body cam video captures Sergeant Frost at the scene, transported to the hospital with these injuries.
All right, thanks to Gene Casares for that report. So let's dig a little deeper here if we can. HLN legal analyst and criminal defense attorney Joey Jackson with us now. All right, Joey, good to see you.
Good afternoon, Frederica.
Okay, so it's so disturbing to see this report. It's difficult to see it, and it's difficult to hear the arguments on both sides. So the prosecutor has already said this shooting was justified, that this officer felt that his life was being threatened. But the family says they're looking at wrongful death because they argue they don't see why he was stopped in the first place. So where do we go from here, Joey?
You know, Frederica, unfortunately, I don't think that argument carries the day. You know, there's an ordinance there, and what it says is that you can't flash your high beam. It's nuanced, so there's some dispute as to whether it suggests that you can't use it to glare in someone's eyes. And so the family's saying it was a momentary, you know, type of flashing, and therefore he should not have been stopped. That's not where this case is really going to turn. This case is going to turn on the officer's fear for his life at the critical moment that the shots were fired. You can argue all day and all night in terms of whether the teenager should have been stopped. He was, and the officer had a basis to do it. Whether the officer was right or wrong in stopping him, certainly the officer believes he was right. There's an ordinance that suggests you can. But where the case will live or die is, was the officer at the time, the critical moment that he felt he needed to fire that shot, was he right? Did he use excessive force, or did he act as a reasonable officer would in in the same situation. And that's why I think it'll be a difficult case for the family to pursue.
So at what point, I mean, clearly it is escalating. We see it all documented, but at a certain point of escalation, there were choices that could have been made, whether it be by the officer or, by the young man. But since the young man is dead, it really is going to be examined, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Joey. The act of the officer, did he have to resort to pulling a pistol after the taser didn't work? Because won't the question also be, aren't officers trained to use a variation of measures in which to de-escalate? And won't they examine what took place between that taser not happening and resorting to a pistol?
They certainly will. And let's just break it down from the beginning. I advise every client, Frederica, and every other person that would listen to me or not listen to me to comply now and grieve later. There may be things you don't want an officer to do. You don't like that an officer does, but you're not going to win on the street. Comply, retain counsel, write to civilian complaint review boards, get the commissioner, get the mayor involved. But on the street, it's an issue of compliance. Why is that relevant? It's relevant because it goes to the officer's state of mind. You talk about a use of force continuum, which you're asking in your question. And that use of force continuum, of course, starts with verbal commands. And then it may escalate to the officer having to use, physical grips. And then it escalates to a taser. And then it escalates to a firearm. Well, the officer's state of mind, if you're non-compliant and not listening, is such that the officer really believes that, this person could represent a danger to me. So now you get to the issue of, well, he's not armed. Well, now an officer is thinking, well, if there's a fight, which ensued in this particular case, what if that person gets my firearm? And so the Supreme Court has spoken loudly and clearly on the issue. And what they have said is, what would a reasonable officer do in this officer's situation? And if a reasonable officer felt in a split second, as the Supreme Court has also said, that there was an imminent fear that they could die or face serious bodily injury, then the use of lethal force is authorized. And so that's what happened here. Didn't need to escalate to that level, but under these circumstances, the officer did in his judgment, which he felt was appropriate because he wanted to go home at the end of the day. Comply now, grieve later.
All right, Joey Jackson, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Always good to see you.
Thank you, Frederica.
All right, and then
I'm the leading state sponsor of terrorism.